Okay, so you want to own a golf course, rolling green fairways stretching to the horizon, a clubhouse with leather chairs and a fireplace, members in polo shirts writing you dues checks every single month without complaint. You picture yourself as the person who controls access to paradise, charging admission to walk through it. That's the fantasy. Here's the actual business hiding underneath it. One of the only industries in America where the product itself, the land, is worth more sitting empty than it is worth being used for its intended purpose. An industry that spent 20 years bulldozing 13% of its own inventory, and is only now, for the first time in a generation, cautiously growing again. Let's take this apart. What it actually costs to build the thing before you collect a single greens fee. You need land, and a lot of it. A regulation 18-hole championship course needs somewhere between 150 and 200 acres. Land acquisition alone typically eats 40 to 50% of your entire project budget, and prime, well-drained, gently rolling terrain suitable for golf is scarce and expensive almost everywhere in the country. Once you've got the land, construction costs for a standard 18-hole course run anywhere from $5 million to $15 million, with luxury or championship caliber builds pushing past $25 million to $30 million. Break it down per hole and you're looking at $400,000 to $2.5 million per hole, depending on terrain complexity, drainage requirements, and how much rock you have to move to get the fairways to look effortless. A basic 9-hole course, the smaller entry point some operators use to test a market, still runs to $1 million to $7 million. And here's the detail that surprises people. A course architect alone, the person who designs the routing, the shot values, the strategic bunkering, charges anywhere from $50,000 to over $200,000. You're not paying for landscaping. You're paying for the specific engineering that makes a walk across open grass feel like a game. The single biggest hidden cost inside that number is irrigation. A proper golf course irrigation system, the underground network of pipes, sprinkler heads, pumps, and computerized controllers that keeps every fairway and green alive through a hot summer, is one of the most expensive single systems in the entire build. And it doesn't stop costing money once it's installed. Ongoing maintenance on that irrigation system alone runs 1% to 3% of its installation costs every single year, forever. For as long as the course exists, the bill that never stops arriving hers, where golf course ownership becomes genuinely unlike almost any other business we've covered. The maintenance budget isn't a line item you can trim in a slow month. It's the actual product. Nobody pays greens fees to play on brown, patchy, poorly mowed grass. The nationwide average annual maintenance budget for an 18-hole course sits right around $1 million, according to the Golf Course Superintendents Association of America. Private clubs run higher, averaging over $1 million annually, and in some cases exceeding $1.4 million, while public daily fee courses average closer to $550,000 to $650,000. Break that number down and labor alone consumes nearly 57% of the entire maintenance budget. A public course typically employs 12 to 18 maintenance staff. A private club runs 18 to 25, on top of labor, fertilizer, fungicides, fuel, and equipment leasing all stack on top of each other, and the mowing equipment itself and cheap. A single rough mower runs about $100,000. A fairway mower runs around $80,000. A greens mower, the precision equipment that has to cut grass to a height measured in fractions of an inch, still runs tens of thousands of dollars, and a course needs an entire fleet of them, constantly rotating through repair and replacement. And then there's water, the cost that varies more wildly than any other line item in this entire business. Only about a quarter of American courses actually pay for their water directly, but for the ones that do, the national average water bill runs $107,000 a year. In the arid Southwest, that number explodes. Courses there spend an average of $238,000 to $266,000 annually just on water. and neighboring courses just a few miles apart can see their water budgets differ by over $1 million a year, purely based on their specific water rights and soil conditions. This is the quiet, permanent tension sitting underneath every golf course in a dry climate. You are running one of the most water-intensive land uses in America, in a country where water itself is becoming one of the most contested resources in the West. The twist nobody sees coming. The land is worth more dead than alive. Here's the single most important structural fact in golf course economics, and it explains almost every closure this industry has ever seen. A golf course occupies 150 to 200 acres of prime, flat, well-drained land, usually close to a growing suburb. That is also the exact description of land a residential developer would kill for. Across the country, courses have been selling not to other golf operators, but to housing developers who see 150 acres of manicured grass and calculate, correctly, that hundreds of home lots are worth more than decades of greens fees ever will be. In Myrtle Beach alone, half a dozen courses have closed in favor of housing in recent years, including the Witch Golf Links and Farmstead Golf Links. This dynamic runs even deeper than a simple sale. Many golf communities were never built to be standalone golf businesses in the first place. A residential developer builds the course specifically to sell surrounding home lots faster, deliberately keeping initiation fees and dues artificially low, subsidizing the golf operation as a marketing expense for the real business, which is selling houses. Once every lot sells, that developer has zero remaining incentive to keep subsidizing a golf course and walks away, selling it to an operator whose actual job is extracting profit from golf alone. That's often where the death spiral begins. The course ages, deferred maintenance piles up, membership demand fades, and it gets sold and resold down a chain of increasingly under-resourced operators until it finally closes. This is exactly what happened at the 87-year-old Colonial Golf and Country Club outside New Orleans. The club had been financially struggling for a decade. It borrowed for $0.7 million in 2007, and by the time it finally closed and filed for Chapter 11 bankruptcy in 2012, that debt, with interest, fees, and legal costs stacked on top, had ballooned to $7.8 million. The 88-acre property was ultimately sold out of bankruptcy to a real estate developer for $8.5 million, less than what it would have taken to simply pay off the accumulated debt, with room for anyone to profit. An 87-year-old institution, decades of member history, reduced to a real estate transaction, because the underlying math of running the golf operation alone had stopped working years before the bankruptcy filing ever became public. The industry's two-decade hangover. Understand why this keeps happening. You need to understand the boom that came before it. Golf massively overbuilt itself in the 1990s and early 2000s, riding the Tiger Woods boom and a wave of speculative real estate development that used golf courses as amenities to sell home lots. Then 2006 arrived, the first year in modern history where course closures outnumbered new openings. Right before the 2008 financial crisis gutted both the housing market and the discretionary income that supports country club memberships. Over the following 20 years, the United States lost a cumulative 13% of its total golf course supply. That's not a rounding error. That's roughly 1 in every 8 courses in the country disappearing, mostly converted into housing developments, strip malls, or simply left to grow wild. But here's the twist in the story that most people, even golf industry veterans, got wrong for years. Golf isn't dying. It just spent 2 decades correcting from a wildly overbuilt supply glut. In 2024, the number of Americans playing traditional on-course golf hit 28 million, the 7th consecutive year of growth and the largest single-year jump since the peak of the Tiger Woods era. Course closures in 2024 fell to their lowest level in 20 years, while new course development hit its highest level since 2011, and the real engine behind this turnaround in traditional golf at all. It's off-course golf, top golf-style entertainment venues, indoor simulators, driving range as nightlife concepts that let someone show up, hit balls, drink a beer, and leave in 90 minutes instead of committing an entire Saturday to 18 holes. Off-course participation alone soared to 19.1 million Americans in 2024, up from 23.3 million total off-course golfers in 2019. Combined, total golf engagement in America, on-course and off-course together, hit 47.2 million people, a 38% increase over pre-pandemic 2019 levels. The traditional golf course business is stabilizing for the first time in 20 years, and it's being pulled forward by a version of golf that doesn't require owning a single acre of maintained turf at all. Where the actual money is, the membership arbitrage if you do decide to operate a private club rather than a public daily fee course. Here's where the real profit engine lives, and it has almost nothing to do with greens fees. Country club initiation fees have exploded over the past several years. The median initiation fee jumped from $29,000 to $50,000 between 2019 and 2022 alone, a 70% increase in 3 years. That's the median. At the actual top end of the market, it gets absurd. Rancho Santa Fe Country Club in California doubled its initiation fee to $100,000 in a single 3-year stretch. The newly built Apogee Club in Florida, backed partly by an NFL team owner, charges an initiation fee of up to $650,000, and it isn't even close to the coastline. Annual dues on top of that initiation fee typically run $10,000 to $30,000 or more at the elite end of the market, and none of that initiation fee is usually refundable when a member eventually leaves. This is the closest thing golf has to the loyalty program economics we've seen work brilliantly in other industries: a large upfront, non-refundable payment for the right to belong, followed by a recurring subscription for as long as membership lasts. The math only works, though, if demand genuinely outstrips supply, which is exactly what's happening at the well-located, well-run clubs right now, with long waiting lists becoming normal again at popular clubs for the first time since before the 2008 crash. But that same demand is entirely absent at the mid-tier and struggling courses. The ones without a waiting list, without a real estate story, without anything that makes the wealthy want to pay 6 figures just to belong. Golf, more than almost any business we've examined, is a tale of 2 completely separate economies operating under the exact same name. To scenarios optimistic case, you own or operate a well-located club in a growing metro area, riding the genuine 7-year recovery in golf participation, with a waiting list of members willing to pay rising 6-figure initiation fees for the right to belong, strong off-course entertainment or simulator revenue supplementing traditional rounds, and land that's appreciating simply because nobody is making more of it near a wealthy suburb. In that world, the initiation fees alone can fund major capital improvements. The dues cover operating costs with room to spare, and the golf course becomes what it always promised to be: a genuinely durable, appreciating community asset. The realistic case: you own a mid-tier course, maybe one that was originally built by a housing developer decades ago and subsidized specifically to sell home lots that all sold out years ago. Membership has drifted down from a peak of 350 to barely 100. The maintenance budget, non-negotiable at roughly $500,000 to $1 million a year just to keep the grass playable, doesn't shrink even as dues revenue does. Deferred maintenance piles up because there's no cash to fix it properly, and the moment a housing developer walks up and offers to buy your 150 acres for more than the golf operation could earn you in the next 20 years combined, the math stops being a golf decision and becomes a real estate decision. That's not a hypothetical. That's the actual, well-documented pattern behind a meaningful share of every course closure in America over the past 2 decades. So does owning a golf course work. At the top of the market, where scarcity, waiting lists, and 6-figure initiation fees meet genuine demand, it can be one of the most durable membership businesses in existence. Everywhere else, you're not really running a golf course. You're temporarily operating one of the most valuable pieces of undeveloped real estate near a growing city, and the moment the math of grass stops beating the math of houses, The fairways were always going to lose.